Now, joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is digital content contributor for Mavs.com, Dallas Mavericks insider Bobby Karalla. Bobby, welcome to BYU Sports Nation, and thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. And I'm here to say I'm guaranteeing BYU is going to get at least 6 wins next season.
Yeah, baby.
Invite, so I'm with you guys.
You are always welcome on this program with that kind of attitude.
All right.
Bobby, the Mavericks waived Kyle Collinsworth on Friday. First of all, why do you think they did that after what he gave to the team last season?
Well, so he did play well down the stretch last season. He earned a guaranteed contract. He was basically kind of going back and forth between the NBA and the G League for a while there. He was on the 2-way contract and then a 10-day contract and then another 10-day contract. And then he finally got a fully guaranteed deal. But guys in his situation have guarantee dates on their contract. We see a lot of this stuff happen in the NFL too, where if you're on a roster beyond a certain date, then you are entitled to the rest of your contract, basically. So teams will put those protections in contracts, I guess, to protect themselves, to keep their options open in the summer. So Kyle's guarantee date was last Friday. That was July 6th, I believe, was the date. And his day came, and the Mavericks, have done some shopping in the summer, getting DeAndre Jordan, drafting Luka Doncic, getting a bunch of other guys. So the roster is filling up right now, and Kyle was kind of in that 15th spot. And I guess, they must have plans to get another player. They wanted to keep their options open, free up some money in case a bigger name came along on the free agent market, I guess I should say. And unfortunately, he was kind of the odd man out there with his guarantee date being that Friday. But he's still playing in Summer League. He's still with the team, which I guess has got to kind of be a little uncomfortable for him. But he's a tough-minded guy and has been through a lot in his career already. So I know he's up to the challenge of trying to continue impressing the Mavs and also everybody else who's out there watching him play.
What do you think the chances are that he clears waivers and the Mavs still keep him on the G League team, the Texas Legends?
Well, so he already has cleared waivers. It's a 48-hour process. So they waived him on Friday at something like 4:30 p.m. So his waiver deadline came and passed yesterday afternoon. In fact, right before the Mavs played their second Summer League game in Vegas. So that waiver process gives every team with an open roster spot and at least the value of his contract free on their cap room to place a claim for him. It came and went. Generally, guys who are waived are not claimed in the NBA. They just go to the open market. So Kyle is now a completely unrestricted free agent. He can sign with any team he wants, whether that's in the NBA or the G League with the Texas Legends, where he's played a lot the last couple seasons and has actually played very well down there. And he has a very good relationship with their head coach, Bob McKinnon, who's put a lot of time in helping him improve that jump shot, which has kind of been his main area of focus on improving so far in his pro career. But his options are also open to go overseas if he wants. He said before that last season he was considering taking an offer to play pro ball in Russia, where the money's much better than it would be in the G League. And you're potentially, playing on a high enough level to where if you succeed over there, then you can impress teams in America, because we're starting to see NBA teams sign more and more guys from overseas, especially including the Mavericks, who have a lot of international guys on their roster. So his options are completely open. If he does not want to go overseas and he wants to stay in America as close to the NBA as possible, and an NBA team doesn't offer him a contract in between now and October, I suppose he could sign with the Legends. I'm not really sure how those rights work. I would need to ask around a little bit more. Because he's not bound to the Mavericks organization in any way anymore, I'm not sure that he's required to return to the Legends. But I know if the choice is his, he would probably absolutely do that, because he's familiar with the system, familiar with the coaches, and he knows he's going to get a ton of playing time there.
Bobby Karalla, digital content contributor for Mavs.com. He is an insider for the Dallas Mavericks, with us on BYU Sports Nation. Okay, so if Kyle does go to Russia, that wouldn't be a huge surprise. He lived there for 2 years. He speaks conversationally fluent Russian, and that is definitely on the table. But I feel like he didn't hurt his chances with the Mavericks in any way because of what he did later in the season. In fact, I think that they probably thought long and hard about what they wanted to do with him, because he helped his scenario. Unfortunately, he's on the outside looking in. So if you had to project, just make a guess on what you know about Kyle Collinsworth, your interactions with him, the team, where do you think he will be come October?
Well, I know he's a really competitive guy, and he believes that he belongs in the NBA. It's so tough with these guys who are right on the cusp, guys like him and Pierre Jackson, who's now, an all-star overseas, but he was so close to the NBA for so long. Guys like that who really believe they have a chance, and I think Kyle's still only like 26 years old, so he's still a pretty young guy. If you've played your whole life to get to this moment and you've gone through injury rehab like Kyle has, and you missed 2 years of basketball for your mission, and you came back and you ended up setting the all-time record for triple-doubles in a career and in a season, I know that he wants to be in the NBA, and he's going to do whatever he has to do to get to the NBA because he feels like he belongs. And honestly, I think he's good enough to be an NBA player too. I mean, like you guys said, he really did impress with his play down the stretch last season. He got a lot more minutes as the Mavericks were kind of turning over the roster to younger guys. And he defended guys like James Harden in big games and defended them well. The team's defense numbers were so much better whenever he was on the floor than when he was off. And he was moving the ball really well, and he did take strides in improving that three-point shot, especially at the G League level. So I think he's put in enough work and has put enough on tape to impress GMs and scouts around the league. And, it's just kind of tough with these guys that are at that level. NBA teams are still keeping the books as clear as possible just in case, another crazy trade or free agency situation comes along. But when push comes to shove, I would have to think that he gets a camp invite in the fall. I mean, that's just pure speculation, but I mean, someone would be silly not to. He's a 6'6", 6'7" wing with big body guy who can defend multiple positions, handle the ball, make plays around the basket and on the perimeter. He can run pick and roll. I mean, he can do all the things that you want your wing to do, except for shoot like in the mid to high 30s from beyond the arc. And coaches view that as more of a coaching challenge than a limitation, right? Like if a guy can't shoot, you're not going to say that he can't play. You're going to say he can do everything but shoot. And I believe as a player development coach, I'm good enough to get his jump shot out of him and to turn him into a shooter. So the ingredients are there for a guy who can really play at this level. So, I mean, I think a team will certainly give him a training camp invite. Beyond that, it just ultimately comes down to how well he plays throughout the rest of the summer league, how well he impresses in camp, in preseason, and all of that. And then, he'll kind of play the hand he's dealt and make a decision from there.
Bobby Karalla going on record that BYU football will win 6+ games and that he thinks
Kyle
Collinsworth is good enough to be on an NBA team. Great stuff, Bobby. We appreciate the time.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Bobby Karalla on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.